John, chapter 6. After these things, Jesus went away beyond the Sea of Galilee of Tiberias, and there was following him a great multitude, because they were seeing his signs that he was doing on the ailing. And Jesus went up to the mountain, and he was sitting with his disciples there. And the Passover was near, the celebration of the Jews. Jesus then, having lifted up his eyes, and having seen that a great multitude comes to him, says to Philip, "From where will we buy loaves, that these may eat?" And this he said, trying him, for he himself had known what he was about to do. Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of loaves are not sufficient to them, that each of them may receive some little. One of his disciples, Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, says to him, "There is one little boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fishes, but these, what are they to so many?" And Jesus said, "Make the men to sit down." And there was much grass in the place. The men then sat down, in number as it were 5,000. And Jesus took the loaves, and having given thanks, he distributed them to the disciples, and the disciples to those reclining. In like manner also of the little fishes, as much as they wished. And when they were filled, he says to his disciples, "Gather together the broken pieces that are left over, that nothing may be lost." They gathered together, therefore, and filled 12 handbaskets with broken pieces from the 5 barley loaves that were over to those having eaten. The men then, having seen the sign that Jesus did, said, "This is truly the prophet who is coming into the world." Jesus, therefore, having known that they were about to come and to seize him by force, that they may make him king, retired again to the mountain, himself alone. And when evening came, his disciples went down to the sea, and having entered into the boat, they were going over the sea to Capernaum, and darkness had already come, and Jesus had not come to them. The sea also, a great wind blowing, was being raised. Having pushed onward, therefore, about 25 or 30 stadia, they beholded Jesus walking on the sea, and coming near to the boat, and they were afraid. And he says to them, "I am. Do not be afraid." They were willing then to receive him into the boat, and immediately the boat came to the land to which they were going. On the next day the multitude that was standing on the other side of the sea, having seen that there was no other little boat there except one, that into which his disciples entered, and that Jesus did not go in with his disciples into that little boat, but his disciples went away alone, and other little boats came from Tiberias, near the place where they ate the bread, the Lord having given thanks. When therefore the multitude saw that Jesus is not there, nor his disciples, they also entered into the boats themselves, and came to Capernaum, seeking Jesus. And having found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, "Rabbi, when have you come here?" And Jesus answered them and said, "Truly, truly, I say to you, you seek me not because you saw signs, but because you ate of the loaves and were satisfied. Do not work for the food that is perishing, but for the food that is remaining to continuous life, which the Son of Man will give to you, for the Father sealed him, even God." Therefore they said to him, "What may we do that we may work the works of God?" Jesus answered and said to them, "This is the work of God, that you may believe in him whom he sent." Therefore they said to him, "What sign then do you do that we may see and believe you? What do you work? Our fathers ate manna in the wilderness, according as it is having been written, he gave them bread out of heaven to eat." Jesus therefore said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, Moses did not give you the bread out of heaven, but my Father gives you the true bread out of heaven. For the bread of God is him coming down out of heaven and giving life to the world." Therefore they said to him, "Lord, always give us this bread." And Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. He who is coming to me may not hunger, and he who is believing in me may not thirst at any time. But I said to you that you also have seen me, and you do not believe. All that the Father gives to me will come to me, and him who is coming to me I will never cast outside. Because I have come down from heaven, not that I may do my will, but the will of him who sent me. And this is the will of the Father who sent me, that all that he has given to me, I may lose none of it, but may raise it up in the last day. And this is the will of him who sent me, that everyone who is beholding the Son and is believing in him may have continuous life, and I will raise him up in the last day. The Jews therefore were murmuring at him because he said, I am the bread that came down out of heaven. And they said, Is this not Jesus, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we have known? How then does this one say, I have come down out of heaven? And Jesus answered therefore and said to them, Do not murmur with one another. No one is able to come to me if the Father who sent me may not draw him, and I will raise him up in the last day. It is having been written in the prophets, and they will all be taught by God. Everyone, therefore, who heard from the Father and learned, comes to me. Not that anyone has seen the Father, except he who is from God. He has seen the Father. Truly, truly, I say to you, he who is believing in me has continuous life. I am the bread of life. Your fathers ate manna in the wilderness, and they died. This is the bread that is coming down out of heaven, that anyone may eat of it and not die. I am the living bread that came down out of heaven. If anyone may eat of this bread, he will live throughout the age. And the bread also that I will give is my flesh, that I will give for the life of the world. The Jews therefore were striving with one another, saying, How is this one able to give us his flesh to eat? Jesus therefore said to them, Truly, truly, I say to you, if you may not eat the flesh of the Son of Man, and may not drink his blood, you have no life in yourselves. He who is eating my flesh and is drinking my blood has continuous life, and I will raise him up in the last day. For my flesh is truly food, and my blood is truly drink. He who is eating my flesh and is drinking my blood remains in me, and I in him. According as the living Father sent me, and I live because of the Father, he also who is eating me, even that one will live because of me. This is the bread that came down out of heaven, not as your fathers ate the manna and died. He who is eating this bread will live throughout the age. He said these things in a synagogue, teaching in Capernaum. Many, therefore, of his disciples, having heard, said, This word is hard. Who is able to hear it? And Jesus, having known in himself that his disciples are murmuring about this, said to them, Does this stumble you? If then you may behold the Son of Man going up where he was before. It is the Spirit that is giving life. The flesh does not profit anything. The sayings that I speak to you are spirit, and they are life. But there are certain of you who do not believe. For Jesus had known from the beginning who they are who are not believing, and who is he who will deliver him up. And he said, Because of this I have said to you, no one is able to come to me if it may not have been given him from my Father. From this time many of his disciples went away backward, and were no longer walking with him. Jesus therefore said to the 12, Do you also wish to go away? Simon Peter therefore answered him, Lord, to whom will we go? You have the sayings of continuous life. And we have believed, and we have known that you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Jesus answered them, Did I not choose you, the 12, and of you one is a devil? And he spoke of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, for he was about to deliver him up, being one of the 12.